Good day, YouTubers. Today's project is I'm going to drain, flush, and refill the coolant system in my 2018 Can-Am Commander Limited 1000R. Last week when I was out and about, had a little tree limb jump up off the trail and grab the lower radiator hose and dump all my coolant out all over the trail. Fortunately, I was close enough into town. I walked in and got another hose clamp and some antifreeze and managed to get the coolant system flushed enough to be able to drive the machine home. Today, I'm going to flush it and put in all fresh antifreeze. I'm going to follow the manual, use their step-by-step procedure to purge all of the air out of the system. I know there's other videos out there where people are using their little tricks. Guys mention them on Facebook, this trick and that trick, but there's mixed results. I'm brand new at this. I've only had this machine a couple of months. So you and I can learn together while I try to flush this system. First step is I'm going to remove the seat. I'm going to remove the access panel to give me access to the two bleeder screws. And I need to see if I can locate the drain plug for the coolant system. I don't want to mess around and drain the oil out of the engine or the oil out of the gearbox. I've removed the seat. Now I'm going to remove this access panel. I've gotten myself a little bowl for a place to store the rivets. I do own a set of rivet removal tools, and I have a kit with spare rivets because there are some missing from this machine. I will use this tool to remove my rivets and store them in this bowl, and then we will locate the drain plug and the bleeder screws. The book says to remove the driver's side access panel to get to the bleed screws. I don't see any way to get to the front cylinder bleed screw without removing the passenger side access panel. So I removed both of those and located the bleed screw. Right here is the bleed screw for the rear cylinder. And right here is the bleed screw for the front cylinder. Now that I know where those are, I'm going to drain the coolant so that I can add some water to flush the system out. The bleed screws use an 8mm boxed in wrench. You can use the open end too, but of course, to play it safe, you always use the box end where you can. The drain plug is in the side of the engine casing, and it is accessed through this slot in the skid plate on the bottom of the machine. The drain plug is also an 8mm. Takes a little doing to get to it since you're working in the blind. Cooling system is completely drained of old coolant mixture. I'm now adding distilled water. You have to do this kind of slowly and let the air bubbles burp out. And then once it's finished burping out from here, then we'll bleed air from the bleeder screws on the cylinder heads. I've added roughly a half a gallon of water. The radiator does not want to take any more water. So what I want to do is open the bleeder screw until you get antifreeze or water. That one seems to be bled. This one's a little tougher. Next step, according to the manual, is to get the front end as high as you can. They say at least 2 feet up I believe I'm there, so I will continue to add water. The manual says that after you've drained the coolant from the drain plug, to also disconnect the lower radiator hose and drain the radiator. I failed to do that, so I'm going to have to flush it a second time. Something you need to pay attention to when you drain this radiator is you want to tip this hose so that it drains that hose. It does go up high, but you do have this 90, so you have to dip it way down so that it empties that hose out. You want as much of that coolant out of here as you can. All right, I've done everything according to the manual, short of actually running the engine until the fan comes on, which is what I'm in the process of doing. I'm still roughly a quart short of having a full gallon in the cooling system. I have to believe until I've gotten that entire gallon into the system that I still have air. So we'll see what happens once the thermostat's open and the fan cycles. A couple of very, very important things here. Like I say, you want to get that full gallon in. And the key is to don't be in a hurry. Add a little water, let it burp itself. Add a little more water, let it burp itself until you've gotten everything in you can. I have completely drained, flushed the system, drained it again, and I'm now refilling with the final antifreeze mix. Some things to note here about antifreeze. The BRP factory antifreeze that they recommend by part number is orange. They say it's long life, lasts for 5 years, safe for aluminum engines. There are also some green 2-year antifreeze, say they're safe for aluminum engines. The stuff I'm using is a Prestone, safe for aluminum engines, safe to mix with other antifreezes. In spite of that, I went ahead and flushed my system twice to make sure there's nothing left over as far as grit, grime, or old antifreeze, since I don't know what was in there before I lost my hose and ended up adding antifreeze from the truck stop. So I will now finish adding this and burping it according to the manual. All right, so I've added coolant, raised the front end up as high as I could, topped off the coolant, then raised the driver's side as high as my jack would go, added a few more drops of coolant. After that, the manual says to run the engine until the fan cycles twice. The fan is now cycling for the second time, and this is the coolest that this machine has run since I have had my little episode out on the trails. I will let it cool, top off the radiator a little bit, top off the coolant recovery tank, and we should be good. Hopefully this kind of helps you if you're as new as I am. As always, thanks for watching, and please remember to like